They say y'all the equalizer, the data scientist of boxing, spinning the block for another breakdown. Let's get into it. In today's video, we will be highlighting the overall skill set of Stephen Cool Boy Steph Fulton Jr. hailing straight out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the US of A. The US of A, in which he's going to be featured July 25th in a highly touted unified super bantamweight title fight against the world-renowned pound for pound, top 5 pound for pound, with the consensus of many boxing journalists, many boxing media outlets. They got him ranked top 3, really. Inoue. He's squaring off against Inoue, July 25th, Tokyo, Japan. Amazing fight. Great fight that so many of us purists are looking forward to. In today's video, I definitely want to break down the strengths and weaknesses of Stephen Fulton Jr. Not just going into his July 25th showdown with Inoue, but just overall, highlighting what he's done over the course of his career. And I believe that he's a tremendous talent right now. I believe that he could possibly be top 10 pound for pound right now. You know, skill for skill. I feel as if he's one of the best in the world. And being that, you know, he's fighting in these lower weight classes, of course, you know, he's not getting his just due because he's not flatlining and knocking out guys the way that Inoue is. But I believe that his skill set is up there with the Inoue. Some will argue that it's slightly higher. Some would say that he's way better than Inoue. I say that they're about the same. It's about neck and neck. Both do things, you know, very good. Both, you know, are highlighted in many areas of their strengths. You know what I mean? But when you tie it all together, they're about neck and neck, which makes this fight 50-50 fight. But of course, the equalizer is the punching power. But with no further ado, we're going to jump into the overall skill set of Stephen Cool Boy Steph Fulton Jr., in which I have him rated at a 90% overall. And it's been a while since I've done an overall skill set rating, right? It's been a while, but for those who aren't familiar, I use an all-time scale. So when I rate these guys, it's not just, you know, I'm comparing them to fighters just in their division. In this case, the super bantamweight division. I'm not just comparing Stephen Fulton to other super bantamweights and saying, oh yeah, he's a 90% overall to super bantamweights. No, I'm comparing them amongst all weight classes and also on an all-time scale, meaning that everyone who's ever laced up the gloves, I'm measuring his skill set to all of those guys, going back to the early days of boxing. You know, the Barney Rosses, the Homicide Hanks, the Sugar Ray Robinsons. You know what I mean? The Jersey Joe Walcotts, the Rocky Marcianos, the Ezra Charles of the world. You know what I mean? The Floyd Pattersons, the Muhammad Alis, the Joe Frazier's, the Jose Napoli's of the world, the Carlos Monzones of the world. You know what I mean? The Roberto Duran's of the world. I'm measuring his skill to all of these greats. You feel me? All of these greats. A lot of people get mad about that, but I believe it's fair because boxing skill is boxing skill. You know, when it comes to comparing other sports, you know what I mean? We don't limit it at positions. You know what I mean? We compare the best based off of whatever our criteria is, and it's all opinionated at the end of the day. You know what I mean? When you say the greatest basketball players of all time, you're not saying, oh, it's just, well, we can't compare a point guard to a center because it's not fair. Of course, essentially, you know, it's two different positions, two different styles of play. So it's hard to say who's better than the other, but you can compare skill to skill. You know what I mean? And that's the whole reason for, you know, this breakdown, the overall skill set breakdown. You know what I mean? So we'll jump straight into it, man. We have 4 skill pillars, being boxing form, physical capabilities / conditioning, intangibles, and last but not least, strategy execution. These 4 skill pillars are comprised of multiple skill components that make up each skill pillar, in which we have 4 skill pillars and skill components. It's about 16 skill components. You know what I'm saying? Roughly speaking, it's about 16 skill components or more. But that's just what it is. That's just what it is. We'll get into boxing form, which I have rated at 94.50%. In which we have boxing stance, proper footwork, hand positioning for defense and offensive attacks, proper punch form, skill components that make up the skill pillar of boxing form. The first skill component, which is boxing stance, I've rated at a 93%, which is a solid A. I believe just on the cusp of an A-, but I give Stephen Fulton Jr. Boxing stance a solid A at 93%, for he has superior stability of foundation from the orthodox stance. It's not many times that I've seen him, you know, lose his ground, lose his balance. You know, that there has been some instances to where, you know, he has lost balance or whatever, but you know, he's been a professional for a long time. He has an extensive amateur background, you know what I mean? So a lot of guys at the championship level, really a lot of good professional boxers, even, you know, the contenders who may have 1 or 2 losses on their record, maybe even 3 losses. A lot of these guys, they have great boxing form because they've been boxing their whole lives. You know what I mean? So boxing stance for Stephen Fulton Jr., 93%. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is proper footwork. I've rated at 97%, which is an A+. 97%, that's a solid A+. I give his footwork an A+ for sure, for he has superior understanding of foot positioning for effective counter punching and setups for power shots or opponent strength neutrality. Footwork, everything starts from the ground up in boxing. Everything starts from the ground up in any sport that you play, but mainly boxing. Well, mainly in boxing, it's all about your footwork. That's not necessarily, you know, foot speed. In this instance, I'm not talking about foot speed. I'm not talking about the ability to dance and show off like a Prince Nassim or Lomachenko or Muhammad Ali. That's not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about foot positioning, understanding of foot positioning. You know, the orthodox versus the southpaw. Who's winning that foot position battle? You know what I'm saying? Who understands foot placement to set up the proper shots to get the attention of your opponent? You know what I mean? If you're just static and, you know, you're sitting narrow, you know what I mean? It takes away from your ability to capitalize and explode into certain punches. Sometimes you have to widen out your stance a little bit to sit down, to properly sit down on those power shots. And Stephen Fulton Jr., he understands that fully. 97%. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is hand positioning for defense and offensive attacks, which I rated at a 93% overall. Solid A for Stephen Cool Boy Steph Fulton Jr. He has superior understanding of punch retraction for defense against counter punch openings, whether in the high guard or the Philly shell. You know what I mean? He has great hand positioning. He knows when to, you know, catch a shot. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the thing is, in boxing, you can't be too defensive. You know what I mean? It's okay to, you know, slip punches and catch punches, but the name of the game is to hit and not get hit. So as you're being defensive, making your man miss, you have to capitalize. Make your man miss, you make him pay. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much what this skill component entails in a nutshell. Hand positioning to make your man miss and to make him pay. So he's not just He's not just good at defending, but he's also good at catching and shooting, capitalizing off of counterpunch opportunities, hand positioning. I give it 93%. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is proper punch form, which I rated at 95%, a solid 8. For Stephen Cool Boy Steph, he has superior and consistent routine of rotating fists for proper snap of punch in tandem with torso and hip rotation to properly distribute power and force of punch. Now, you know, some will argue, well, he doesn't have punching power. His KO percentage is way lower than Inoue's, and oh man, he doesn't really hurt his guys. Like, when's the last time he got a knockout? It's not all about knockouts. You know what I mean? In order to have, you can't measure proper punch form by superior knockout ability, one punch knockout ability. That doesn't really tell the whole story of proper punch form. Proper punch form is how crisp your punches are, how well you snap your punch when you throw it. You know what I mean? Are you getting a good snap? Are you getting your guys' attention? And I feel as if, you know, Stephen Fulton, his ability to have, you know, proper snap on every punch that he throws consistently, it's elite. It's up there with the best of the best. Not everybody has knockout power or one punch knockout power measurement. That doesn't take away from a boxer's skill level, and that doesn't take away from what they can do in the ring and being in the ring generally. 95% proper punch form for Cool Boy Steph. We'll move on to the next skill pillar, which is physical capability / conditioning, which I have rated at a 86.85% overall. For the skill components that make up this skill pillar is stamina, endurance, overall strength, punching power, hand speed, foot speed, and punch resistance. The first skill component that we'll highlight is stamina. I've rated at a 92%, which is a solid A-. For he has good lung capacity for high volume punching and movement around the ring. Now, I'll say we don't really see Stephen Fulton letting his hands go that much, but when he do, he shows to have a pretty good threshold for maintaining his stamina to last round after round. But the style that he's adopted in his championship fights, he's playing the counterpunch role, the super defensive, slick boxer. He's not really going for the kill. He's looking to showcase superior boxing ability. That's what he opts to do. So with that, the punch output is not a lot, which is why in the fight against Brandon Figueroa made it a fire fight, and Brandon Figueroa made the fight very close and very debatable. Why? Because Stephen Fulton Jr., he opted to be on the defensive counterpunch end. Not much punch output. And that's cool with certain opponents, but against high volume pressure fighters like a Brandon Figueroa, you know, you leave it a chance pretty much if you're not really a ring general. And I seen Stephen Cool Boy Steph as a ring general, so he dictated that fight. You know what I mean? He did enough to edge it out and to win. In the stamina department, it could be 100%, but I don't see it being 100%, and really 92% is showing him a lot of love. But I haven't seen him like super gassed out, you know, super winded and looking like that he can't follow up an attack because he's tired and the stamina is low. You know, so I give it a 92, put it in the elite category. But is it among the best of the best? Not necessarily, but still it's elite. You know what I mean? We'll move on to the next skill component, which is endurance, and I've rated at a 91%, A-. For Stephen Cool Boy Steph, he has the durability to last throughout a 12-round fight whilst maintaining energy. 91% is only 9 basis points from 100%. You know, so this isn't no slight, no disrespect. 90 is always good in my book. As I've stated in many other videos when I'm breaking down boxers' overall skill sets, you you can like a 90 is never any disrespect in any category of a boxer's skill set. You know what I mean? But endurance, Stephen Cool Boy Steph, I've never seen him winded, but I've seen his activity like kind of fade in the later rounds. You know what I mean? That's not to say that he was gassed out or he was tired or he couldn't finish a fight. Stephen Fulton, he's finished every 12-round fight that I've seen him in. And he's looked good while doing it. But for me to push that up, you know, to possibly 95 rating or 100% rating, I have to see more output in those later championship rounds. You know what I mean? Showing me that he has the endurance to go 15 rounds. Really, that's all it is. To get 100%, in my eyes, an A+, 100% endurance rating, you're showing me that, you're showing everyone that you have the capability of going 15 rounds while maintaining the same energy that you had from round one. Even if you're tired, you're still pushing your body. You know what I mean? It's showing that you have the endurance to have mind over matter. You know what I mean? So, yeah, 91% endurance for Cool Boy Steph. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is overall strength. And I've rated at 72%, which is a C-. Now, I know a lot of people will question this rating, but as I stated earlier, he's a super bantamweight. He weighs in at 122 pounds. He probably walks around at about 135, 140 pounds. It's pretty light. I doubt that a super bantamweight can muscle a light heavyweight, a middleweight. It just doesn't work like that. These skill ratings are measured on an all-time scale. So I'm measuring his overall strength to all boxers. You know what I mean? I'm not just excluding one over the other. You know what I mean? I'm not measuring his stamina to a heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, but not overall strength. Everything has to get measured on that all-time scale. You feel me? Regardless of weight class. And I think we could all agree that Stephen Fulton, his strength isn't, he's not the strongest guy. That's not to say that he's weak, you know what I mean? But he's not the strongest guy either. The percentile for his weight class, those guys are probably like a 68% overall percentile, you know what I mean? On average. The average 122 pounder, the overall strength is, in my eyes, it's probably about a 65, 68. You know what I mean? So that goes to say that Stephen Fulton, he's not weak in his weight class. He's probably one of the stronger guys in his weight class. But if we're talking about, like, if we're really talking pound for pound, moving up, you know what I mean? Going from 122 to 126 to 130 to 135 possibly, it changes. You know what I mean? The skill set doesn't change, but you know what I mean? The strength of the opponents in these heavier classes, of course, they're stronger. You know what I mean? So I think that everything that I just said justifies this 72% overall strength. It doesn't take away from his overall boxing ability, but just keeping it real, this shouldn't be no higher than 75%. You know what I mean? Anyone saying that Stephen Fulton Jr. has like grade B, good overall strength, come on, man, they're not being real. You know what I mean? They're not being realistic. So 72% overall strength from Cool Boy Steph. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is punching power. Here we go again. Rated it at 74%. Solid C. For punching power is one punch, knockout power, measurement, and capability, bruising and damaging capability. Stephen Cool Boy Steph, he's a great boxer. You know what I mean? He will box your shoes off, but in the department of punching power, it's average at best, in my opinion. It's just average at best. Even at his weight class, it's just average at best. You know what I mean? He's not knocking out guys at the championship level at 122. So why would he be knocking out guys at 126, 130, 135? You know what I mean? If he decides to move up multiple weight classes, you know what I mean? The knockout power, I'm showing love here. It's respectable. You know, average isn't failing. You know what I mean? Like you guys have to follow me and really be, you know, and know that I'm a very literal person. I'm technical. I'm literal. So me rating him 74 is average. It's not saying that he can't squash a grape in a fruit fight. You know what I mean? It's just average. Like, he's capable of hurting a guy, but will it, like, especially at the championship level, where a lot of these guys are conditioned, they're used to sparring heavier guys and getting punched by, you know, harder hitting opponents in sparring. It's like, you know, Stephen Cool Boy Steph got over, he has 21 fights, only 8 knockouts. You know, it's no slight, but the punching power, the pop, it's not grade B. It's not even a B- in my opinion. It doesn't take away from his overall skill set. It doesn't take away from his boxing ability. It's just that the punching power department, it's not the greatest. It's all good. It's all good. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is hand speed. All right, so now we back up. Now we back up in that 90 range. I've rated this at 93% overall. Solid A. For this is great. This is great for he has amazing physical speed, punches thrown with 8-ounce gloves. You know what I mean? It's not 100. Like, he's not the fastest guy that I've ever seen. But I think we can all agree on that. He's not the fast. Like, we've seen guys whose hands move a little faster than Stephen Fulton Jr. I've rated this 7 basis points from 100%, so it's not too far off from perfection. But you know what I mean? It's not the fastest either, but it's still fast. His hands move fast. 93% in the hand speed department for Cool Boy Steph. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is foot speed, which I rated at 93%. For this is the physical speed of lateral movement around the ring and ability to cut off the ring effectively. Foot speed. I think Stephen Cool Boy Steph, he has those capabilities. It's superior. It's elite. You know what I mean? He's great at being elusive, getting out the way of punches, getting thwarting and neutralizing the aggressor's attack by using his feet. You know what I mean? Definitely elite, in my opinion. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is punch resistance. I have rated at a 93% solid A. For it's not many moments in his career that he has shown visible weakness to being hit by a flush shot. And I feel like Brandon Figueroa revealed a lot about the deep resilience that Stephen Cool Boy Steph has. You know what I mean? It showed us a lot in the vault, you know, because that fight, Cool Boy Steph, he was uncomfortable, you know, from round 1 to round 12, but he weathered the storm and he pulled and edged out a victory. You know what I mean? And he was getting hit by some pretty good shots. You know what I'm saying? But he stood there. He stood there. You know what I mean? Will he be able to take now Inoue's hardest flush shots? I hope that he don't even get hit flush at all. But I believe that he has the punch resistance to withstand anything that now Inoue brings to the table. You know what I mean? But it remains to be seen. 93% in the punch resistance department for Cool Boy Steph. We'll move on to the next skill pillar, which is intangibles. I have rated at 92.75% overall. For his intangibles is elite, some of the best in boxing to date. Stephen Cool Boy Steph, his head movement, I've rated at 96%. For he has superior capabilities of slipping punches with timing and movement of the head. Enough said. You know what I mean? The film that's on him, he's good at anticipating what his opponent's punch pattern is, and he's good at getting his head off the center line and getting out the way. Great head movement, 96%. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is anticipation / effective blocking, which I've rated at 94%. And it's so many fights that Stephen Fulton has, you know what I mean? But the main one that stands out to me, to where it was a true test that tested his will and all of his skills, is Brandon Figueroa. And in that fight against Brandon Figueroa, he showed great anticipation, effective blocking ability. Even against Roman, he showed the same thing. And amongst other fighters that he's fought, you know what I mean? But in that Brandon Figueroa fight, especially because it was his most competitive fight, I have to gauge it off that. And just from that fight along, amongst many other of his other fights, I say that his anticipation and blocking ability is superior. It's elite. It's elite. You know what I mean? He has the ability to anticipate incoming punches in order to catch the shot. You know what I mean? And to shoot something back. 94% for anticipation / effective blocking for Cool Boy Steph. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is effective combination punches, which I rated at 88%, solid B+. For the detail of this skill component is the ability to throw up to 5 or 6 punches effectively for connection on the opponent. And Stephen Fulton, he's a 1-2 punch, 3 punch at most type guy. You know what I mean? He has like really adopted that Floyd Mayweather, that Money Mayweather style. You know what I mean? Make your man miss, make him pay. You know, selecting your shots very carefully, and you know, he's just throwing 1 or 2 punches at a time. You know what I mean? But when he do decide to let his hands go, it's solid. You know what I mean? It's solid. Like the effective combination punches, he's a good punch placer. You know what I mean? But he's not consistent enough for me to put it in that elite 90+ range. You know what I mean? It's very close. There's only 2 basis points off from 90%, but he doesn't throw enough combinations for me to like really put some respect on that and say like, all right, he's one of the best when it comes to combination punching. And it's not to say that he's trash at combination punches. You know what I mean? Because a B is always good. A B is good. A A is elite. It's great. You know what I mean? It's the best of the best. So a B ain't bad. You know what I mean? A B+ at that. It's not bad at all. We'll move on to the next and last skill component in the skill pillar of Intangibles, which is counter punching, and I've rated at 93%. Solid A. For Stephen Cool Boy Steph, he has an uncanny ability to attack immediately after opponent's opening. This is what he thrives on. Counter punch opportunities. This is his bread and butter. You know what I'm saying? This is what wins him the majority of his fights. It's not him attacking, going for the kill, knocking the guy out, or looking to inflict so much punishment on the guy that the referee or his opponent's corner has to throw in the towel to stop the fight. That's not his game. That's not his game. That's not his boxing style. His boxing style is playing a defensive matador to catch you while you're coming in, or to punch in between when you're punching, and to counter effectively to land the cleaner, harder shots. And I don't give him 100% in counter punching because he's not the best counter puncher that I've seen. 100% means that you're best, right? 100% means that you're 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, like you're the best. And the only way somebody else, you know, can top that is if they're equal. You know what I mean? So some of the best counter punches that I've seen in my life, Floyd Mayweather for sure. We got Eric Morales. He was a great counter puncher. You know, Mike McCollum, great counter puncher. Roy Jones Jr., he was actually a great counter puncher in his prime. James Toney, great counter puncher. You know, guys like that, I look at them as the best of the best when it comes to counterpunching. There's many other guys, you know, Juan Manuel Marquez. He was a great counterpuncher in his prime. So is Cool Boy Steph up there with those guys? It's debatable. It's debatable, but I need to see some stiffer competition. You know what I mean? I need to see a little bit more. 93% in the meanwhile for Cool Boy Steph when it comes to counterpunching. We'll move on to the next and last skill pillar to be covered, which is strategy execution, which I rated at an 87.66%. And this has everything to do with your corner, your game plan, and also your ability to make adjustments on the fly based off of what your opponent is showing and giving you in the ring. You know what I mean? That's what strategy execution is all about. And the three skill components that make up this skill pillar is pace dictation, awareness of opponent strategy, and opponent weakness exploitation. The first skill component being pace dictation, I've rated at 86%, solid B for Cool Boy Steph. For he has a decent capability to either speed up the pace of the fight or slow down the pace of the fight whilst not becoming overwhelmed and out of control. He has a decent ability to do this. Some would say that it's elite, it's the best, but on the all-time scale, I just can't put it that high. For against competition that's been, you know, so-so, yeah, you know, he's able to dictate the pace and do what he wants, but against a Brandon Figueroa, I just gotta throw it out there. To all the Cool Boy Steph fans, y'all might be mad at me for steady using this as a benchmark, but that was his toughest test to date. And he really didn't dictate the pace of that fight. You know what I mean? He got dictated a lot of times with that pressure, but he offset it with clean, hard shots, but still he couldn't keep Brandon Figueroa up off of him. You know what I mean? So I give the pace dictation for Stephen Cool Boy Steph at 86%, solid B. We'll move on to the next skill component, which is awareness of opponent strategy. I have rated at an 88%, solid B+. For he has a decent ability to understand opponents' punch patterns, punch output, punching range, and perceived advantage. And this will get better. You know what I mean? This will get better the more he fights, you know, stiffer competition, and the more he challenges himself. He must move up and weight. I like to see him campaign at 130. You know what I mean? I believe that we'll see the best of Stephen Cool Boy Steph at 130 pounds. You know what I mean? Will he ever move up to lightweight? I wouldn't be mad if he never does. But I believe he'll have stiffer competition between the weight classes of 126 and 130, with the exception of Inoue, because that's a great test that he's up against July 25th. But I believe his awareness of opponent strategy will get better with the more stiff competition that he fights in the championship fights. You know what I mean? Because there's no way that you can understand everything that an opponent is going to do unless you're fighting the best of the best all the time. You know what I mean? So, like the strategy execution, it gets better. It gets better. He hasn't really peaked. You know what I mean? There's still room for growth for Cool Boy Steph, right? There's still room for growth. In July 25th, it'll be his major coming out party. You know what I mean? If successful. We'll move on to the last and final skill component of this whole overall skill set breakdown, which is opponent weakness exploitation, which I rated at 89%, solid B+. This is the ability to nullify opponents' strengths. It's solid. It's solid. I mean, it's only 11 basis points from 100% that I see it. You know what I mean? His ability to exploit any weakness that his opponent may have. You know what I mean? And a lot of these weaknesses are exploited with his superior hand speed, his counter-punching ability, his elite ability to anticipate what's coming his way, what his opponent's going to do, being able to gauge the hand positioning that his opponent may have. You know what I mean? So when it comes to breaking down the lesser competition, he looks good and he shines. But against the stiffer competition, it remains to be seen, right? It remains to be seen. July 25th will show us a lot. I may just have to double back around and reorder some of these, skill components that I've rated this guy at. But as it stands today, I see him as a 90% overall on the all-time scale. That means that he's in that top 100 percentile of, boxers of all time, skill for skill. We're not talking about resumes. I'm not saying that he's top 100 best boxer of all time. No, I'm just speaking of skill, just skill. Of course, he hasn't accomplished nearly as much as the true top 100 boxers of all time. You know what I mean? Because we combine skill with resume and everything that they've done and accomplished in the ring. You know what I mean? So Stephen Fulton, he has a lot of work to be done regarding his resume. You know what I mean? And the legends that he has to fight, and fighting the best and challenging himself. Like, there's a lot of work to be done, but just basing everything off of his skill, just looking at his skill for what it is, I believe he's top 100 skill for skill right now. 90%, 90.44% to be precise. If you add up all 4 skill pillars: boxing form, which is 94.50%, physical capabilities / conditioning, which is 86.85%, add up intangibles, which is 92.75%, and add up strategy execution, which is 87.66%. Divide that by 4 because it's 4 skill pillars, right? Divide that by 4, you get 90.44%. That's 90% overall skill set. It's the data scientist of boxing. Yours truly, AR the Equalizer. Act like you know. You know what I mean? If you enjoyed this content, if you liked the video, actually smash the like button. Like it. You know what I'm saying? Share the information with your boxing friends and family. Or it helps with reach, it helps with engagement, and is greatly appreciated. If you're interested in more content like this, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to get notified anytime that I'm dropping heat. You feel me? And we gonna keep this thing going. We gonna keep this thing rolling. It's been real. It's been real, family. Until next time, AR the Equalizer. We out!